Family TV. Thank you so much once again for joining us. And the latest news is that the Duke of Cambridge, Prince William, has made fresh comments this week regarding the pressure put on Africa's wildlife by human populations. The remarks have been criticized for being tone deaf and blatantly racist. Now, in a speech at the Tusk Conservation Awards on Monday, the future King of England said the increasing pressure on Africa's wildlife and wild spaces as a result of human population presents a huge challenge for the conservationists as it does the world over. This echoed comments from 2017 when he said the rapidly growing human population in Africa was putting its wildlife and habitats under enormous pressure. And people didn't appreciate a prince with 3 children of his own making these claims. Now, Africa's population is expected to double in growth by 2050 to around 2.5 billion people. But what Prince William failed to factor into his speech was population density and the role this plays when it comes to distribution of natural resources. Now, first of all, Africa has a far lower population density than Asia or Europe. The current population density of Africa is just 45 people per kilometer squared. In comparison, the UK's population density is 281 people per kilometer square. Taking population density into account is incredibly important when it comes to growth. Within more densely populated countries, there will be much higher competition for natural resources and thus more pressure on ecosystems and wildlife. Looking at human numbers instead of behavior is a big mistake many Westerners make. Another criticism being leveled at the prince is why point the finger at African population growth. It's overconsumption in richer parts of the world that is causing most environmental damage. This rhetoric has been used before by eco-fascists. At the core of eco-fascism is an ideology that blames the demise of the environment on overpopulation, immigration, and over-industrialization. But really, overpopulation is not the problem. Overconsumption is. There are enough natural resources to go around. Just note when the richest 1% in the world cause more emissions than the poorest 50%, as reported by Oxfam. The average Briton will be responsible for more carbon dioxide emissions in just 2 weeks than a resident of any one of 7 African countries in any entire year. And the royal family's carbon output is estimated to be 380 times more than the average Brit. I mean, with all the private jet flying Prince William takes, the royal family's carbon dioxide footprint is enough to take you to the moon and back. Yet they stand here lecturing and blaming Africans because of climate change, because of overpopulation. The so-called very much not racist royal family. Now, how dare Prince William blame Africans for this? How dare he? Apparently, Prince William says that the royal family is very much not a racist family. Those are words directly by Prince William. And this is why Prince William is wrong to blame habitat loss on population growth in Africa. Now, the Duke of Cambridge made fresh comments this week regarding the pressure put on Africa's wildlife by human populations, and he blames the African populations in this very much not so-called, very much not racist royal family. Again, blaming Africans who have a lower carbon footprint when you even compare them to the royal family, it can't even match up to the carbon dioxide emissions by the royal family. The carbon footprint is excessive. It can take you back to the moon and back. In a speech at the Task Excavation Awards on Monday, he stated that the increasing pressure on Africa's wildlife and wild spaces as a result of human population presents a huge challenge for conservationists, as it does the world over. This is the second occasion the Duke has raised the issue of rising African population rates. This person is a racist. He's a racist. Prince William is a racist. And I'm going to say this once again and again and again. This is the person who questioned Archie's skin color. Prince Harry may have refused to say it at the Oprah interview, but Prince William is openly showing who he truly is. Now, the first comments were made while the Duchess of Cambridge was expecting their third child. Prince William expecting his third child, and now is asking Africa. Is actually questioning overpopulation in Africa. How dare he do that? Leading to accusations of hypocrisy, as the couple now have more children than needed to replace themselves. So why is Prince William so focused on growth in Africa? And is it fair for a royal from Europe's second most densely populated country to point the fingers? Prince William is a racist, and he comes from a very much racist royal family that inflicted pain and sufferings on Africans from Nairobi, Kenya, to every single continent in Africa. They have caused so much harm and pain to people of color. I mean, look at what they did to Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. Now let's look at facts, shall we? According to the UN's 2019 World Population Prospect Study, 61% of the global population live in Asia, 4.7 billion people compared to 17% in Africa, 1.4 billion, and 10% in Europe, 750 million. While population growth studies can only ever be predictions, as they are unable to factor in the consequences of global events such as war, famine, and migration, they make particularly catchy headlines, especially as this kind of growth tends to go in waves around the world, with some populations shrinking while others rise. Globally, the amount of people in the world is predicted to rise steadily over the coming decades, reaching 8.5 billion in 2030. Globally, the amount of people in the world is predicted to rise steadily over the coming decades, reaching 8.5 billion in 2030, 9.7 billion in 2050, and 11.2 billion in 2100. Now, between now and 2050, the UN predicts that half of the world's population growth will take place in Africa, which will double the continent. In contrast, populations in Europe have been steadily declining for decades, and fertility rates are now below the levels required to replace them, with an average of 2.1 children per woman. What is the difference between growth and density? While population growth in Africa may seem large when looking at these stats, what Prince William failed to factor into his speech was not just that his comment was openly racist towards African people whom his family, the royal family, and the UK in general colonized, brutalized, hurled racism towards, were completely racist towards them and treated them so poorly. It isn't just because of that, but that he failed to factor in his speech population density and the role this plays when it comes to distribution of natural resources. The prince drew attention to human population growth as a key driver of wildlife loss, said Robin Maynard, director of charity Population Matters. There's also a wider context with high consumption in rich developed countries like the UK, also driving habitat destruction, climate change, and pollution. All drivers of extinctions. Addressing our consumption here is essential too. The UK has the second highest population density in Europe. So why didn't Prince William call for population control in the UK instead of calling it in Africa? We know why. Because he hates the color of our skin. That's who Prince William is and has always been. And right now, he isn't even hiding who he truly is. He's openly showing it. I mean, how could he? How could he make such a comment like that? How could he? Knowing the pain it will cause people of color in Africa and all around the world, globally, in the very much not racist royal family, according to Prince William. Now, the UK has the second highest population density in Europe after the Netherlands with 281 people per square kilometer. In comparison, Africa's density is just 45 people per square kilometer. The UK has the second highest population density in Europe after the Netherlands. Now, in comparison, Africa's density is just 45 people per kilometer square, while the most densely populated country in the world is currently Bangladesh with 1,252 people per square kilometer. Now, Africa isn't even in the top two most populated continents. It's Asia. Then, surprise, surprise, Europe. The UK is also one of the most densely populated countries in the world. Prince William needs to mind his own rotted business and take his neo-colonial mindset elsewhere that his family has promoted in his head. Taking population density into account is incredibly important when it comes to growth, as within more densely populated countries, there will be much higher competition for natural resources and thus more pressure on ecosystems and wildlife. This is highlighted by the fact that the UK is one of the most nature depleted countries in the world, with only 53% of its biodiversity left. According to a study by the Natural History Museum, the global average for biodiversity is 75%. Now, another important factor that Prince William failed to take into consideration is the carbon footprint of citizens in the global north in comparison to the global south. A study from Oxfam released in January 2020 found that the average British citizen is responsible for more carbon dioxide emissions in just 2 weeks than a resident of any one of 7 African countries in an entire year. The countries in question were Rwanda, Malawi, Ethiopia, Uganda, Madagascar, Guinea, and Burkina Faso. For further comparison, the eco expert estimated the annual carbon footprint of the UK's royal family in October this year and found that their carbon output was a huge 3,810 tons, while the average Brit emits just 10 tons per year. Must be those private jets Prince William flies around in. Now, instead of Prince William calling for population control in Africa, he should start it in his own home where he lives, instead of trying to lecture Africans on what to do and blaming habitat loss on Africans. We're not going to tolerate this. We're not going to tolerate and put up with this. Okay, we're not going to put up with it. Prince William will not keep getting away with this, the things that he keeps on saying. And my theory still stands that he is the one who asked about Archie's skin color without a shadow of a doubt. And someone made a comment, said, when I said this years ago, I was treated like a pariah. Taxpayer-fed racist procreates freely while complaining about the fecundity of our women. Since when did ticks complain about the population of cattle whose blood they suck? Satan. Now, Prince William blaming African population growth for wildlife loss. A tick that earns taxpayer money, leeches off of people taxpayer money, lectures us on climate change while flying on private jets and having 3 children. Prince William wants to lecture all of us about population growth and saving wildlife. How dare he? Prince William should just shut up. Prince William should just shut up. Not this Prince William, surely. And it's becoming more and more embarrassing to have the likes of Prince William making these kinds of comments. Whoever is his advisor really, really hates him. Or perhaps this is just who he's always been. And my theory is, yes, this is who he has always been. And I always say this one thing: the royal family, British tabloids, both of them cannot hide how racist they are. They cannot pretend to hide that this is who they are. This is what they normally do. This is what they did to Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, and this is what they're currently, these comments that they're making against people in Africa is atrocious. Atrocious and openly, blatantly racist. And they're not going to get away with it. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. And thank you for joining our channel. It means the absolute world to us. If you're a new member, feel free. Stay tuned. Like, subscribe, and join our family, Sasco Family TV. With so much love from Sasco Family TV. Stay tuned for our next video. Prince William, one last thing to say. You shall never ever be racist in peace. We won't let you be. Thank you so much. With so much love from Sasco Family.